Hello and welcome to the Robbies Podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earle, and here are today's topics. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas for Liverpool as the Reds dismantle Tottenham with a 6-3 win to top the table at Christmas time. Rock bottom keeps sinking further for Pep Guardiola as Aston Villa deal Man City a 9th defeat in their last 12 games in all competitions. Gabriel Jesus finds himself back in the starting 11 and back in the goals for Arsenal, bagging a brace for the Gunners in a 5-1 win at Crystal Palace. And Chelsea hit a Sean Dyche-sized road bump at Everton, where they could only muster a 0-0 draw. That's what we've got coming up in today's episode.
Couldn't believe how many times you practiced that beginning to look not like Christmas, mate.
It was a John Champion. It was a John Champion line, to be fair. So we got to give him credit. Yeah, nicked it. Yeah.
All right, mate. Let's start at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium because Spurs hosted Liverpool. We basically guaranteed goals. I mean, it was how many goals and who was going to get them. It ended up being 6 to the team in red, 3 to the team in white. Probably in some respects, Rob, was a game that played out like you could have thought it would at the start before the ball's kicked. What did we learn from both teams? What are the messages as Liverpool sit top of the pile having won and Tottenham concede goals again but continue to be the great entertainers?
Yeah, I don't think we learned anything new, Rob. I think we got confirmation of where these two clubs are at right now. Two very different stories, Rob, as we always do in these games. You kind of go to one side to the other side. We got confirmation of both stories and narratives, really, for both football clubs. Liverpool was superb, absolutely superb in the way that they beautifully destroyed Tottenham, beautifully destroyed them. They were allowed the space and time, but still, the football had to be clean, sharp. The finishing had to be good. It was an exhibition of how to carve through a team that's wide open. It reminded me, Rob, of when we used to play when you're in the first team. Used to play the kids. Used to play the kids on a Thursday or a Friday. To kind of get a sense of what the game might be like. And you don't want a difficult game. And it was men against boys. This was so much like that. It was stunning to me. But Liverpool, Rob, the quality that they showed from the midfield players, from Trent's cross for the first goal, for 2 midfield players getting the box for the next goal, for Luis Diaz playing as a centre forward, and Mo Salah's goals and assists. What's he got now? I've got it here somewhere.
It's more
15 goals and 11 assists. They were brilliant, Rob, weren't they?
Yeah. It was efficient. It was all business. It was in order. It was one of those, Rob, where I said to John Champion, who was in the seat covering for Becker, did a great job, by the way, over the weekend. But yeah, I said to John, so it's one of them great results for a manager because you scored 6, your team have been on top, you've got the goals, your football was good, but there was also a couple of moments of what Arne Slot's called sloppiness that allowed Spurs to get their 3 goals. So gives you something to work on, gives the players it wasn't 6-0 where you go, we kept the clean sheet and we got the goals in that. So it gives the coach a little bit to say, keep poking, keep prodding, keep pushing, which you get the sense with Slot. But some of their football, Rob, some of their wonders. So I did a little breakdown yesterday on our NBC Sports YouTube channel when we do a Samsung Tactics breakdown. And I broke down the 5th and 6th goals that Liverpool scored. On both the goals, Rob, Spurs were in possession, attacking as Spurs do. Liverpool win the ball and a succession of forward passes, direct, sharp, into people and the rotations of movement. The 2 goals are almost similar. It was the Salah goal, second goal, and the Diaz second goal. And they go from back to front, Rob, and they absolutely carve Spurs apart. We've got to not the halfway stage that Arne Slot's talked about, Rob, but what are we with Liverpool with a game in hand? We've hit the Christmas period. They're top of the tree. Does anything from yesterday? I read a couple of things yesterday where they said you could make a reason why Liverpool could win the title off yesterday, but there's also a reason you could make a reason why they won't win the title for little bits of sloppiness. I think they've conceded a few goals now. It's in the last few games. It's 8 goals they've conceded in the last 3 Premier League games. Is there still a doubt, Rob? Is a dip going to come where they might concede a few more goals, don't win a few games, and give everyone a chance? Or do you think they can continue this form into the second half? Because it's a deep squad, isn't it? There's still players to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're not perfect, Rob, and I think you saw that a little bit in the game, and I think there will be. It's almost like I don't like defensively. I don't fully trust them, and that's crazy because they've done everything really, and it's just at times when we've had the Robertson stuff a little bit. Left back's had a couple of bad games, bad moments, but the difference is, Rob, that you ain't got to be perfect this season. This is a different season. If this is last year or the last couple of seasons when Arsenal and Man City have been winning so many games, I just think that there's going to be room for error. I think Liverpool will show some errors, but I think there's room for it. I think there's room for it. And I think there's so much good on the other side going forward. I mean, they might not be perfect, but nobody's anywhere near perfect. Arsenal are not as they were. They're not, obviously we'll get onto them a little bit, but they're not as efficient, as ruthless, as brilliant as they've been in the past. So with their little gap they've got now, with the incredible attacking talent, as you said, the midfield options now, and that all coming together, they are big favourites to win the title. And they might have some games, Rob, where they mess up and defensively they look a little stretched at times, and goalkeeper has to make some big saves, and they conceded 3 against Spurs. And other games, there's been moments where I think we've talked on air, Rob, about they didn't concede, but they look,
people are getting at them.
I just think, Rob, this season's a season where you haven't got to be perfect, and I think they're going to be the best, and of all of them. But there is a long way to go. We're just near halfway, mate, and things happen, and gaps are made and lost and created. So, but it was another, they were flipping scintillating, mate, with some of their attacking play and the ruthlessness of their football to dispatch Tottenham with ease.
One of the most impressive, before we move on to Spurs, Robert, that as I was watching the game yesterday, is that this is very much a team, Rob. Like, people are getting in the box and setting their teammate up because they've got a better option. There's no, selfishness about anything to do with it. And I'm putting Mo Salah in there, who could go on and win the Golden Boot. Yeah, when it's the right time, Mo's looking to feed somebody in or set somebody up, or there's a real. I don't know what Arne Slot's done, and I don't know how that's come to the fore, but there's something about the way that they work together and the importance of the team rather than the individual that to me is something that sets them apart.
Yeah, and when you look at everything about, when we probably watched every single Premier League game, Rob, like there's a love we've talked about it before. There's a lovely control about them. They're in a lovely moment, and I always think, Rob, and I say it nearly every season, like when you witness a club that it looks like they think something special is happening. And I think we're at that moment right now. Mo Salah's smile on his face, the way he's playing. You're absolutely right, by the way. There's so much cohesion and trust amongst each other, and playing the final ball in, the quality and the unselfish nature of some of their attacking third football, albeit in an incredibly easy way to play through a team, which we'll get to in a second. But no, it's... Liverpool fans, God blimey, mate, they're going to be dreaming again now. They won it in COVID. It was kind of an awkward, weird kind of, it's a great win, but it was without the fans and all that stuff. Long way to go yet. But my goodness, this guy is come in and been silky smooth, and everything he's done, said, touched, changed. It seemed to work. And another, 6-3 away at Tottenham is an incredible result.
Yeah.
But talk to you about Tottenham.
I was going to say it's an incredible result for both teams. Kind of, in some respects, sums up Tottenham. Score 3 goals at home, don't get anything from the game. I thought there was a really big key moment in the game, Rob. It was at 2-1. They just got back to 2-1. Maddison had scored. McAllister got caught in possession. They robbed him. Maddison took a lovely finish. That was something like 42 or 43 minutes on the clock, Rob, when Maddison scored. 41 minutes on the clock. Maddison scored. Spurs were 2-1. Kind of back in the game, despite not having lots of possession, being outplayed. But at 2-1, you go in at half-time, Rob, and you've got a different challenge. There's a different way of approach. Now, I'm not saying Spurs could or couldn't, but what I'm saying is, in that moment, for 4 minutes to half-time, go in 2-1 down. Go in 2-1 down. They then, Rob, go flying up the pitch as they are, get caught on a counter-attack with a little breakdown yesterday. it ends up being 4 Liverpool attackers against 2 Spurs defenders before, and Szoboszlai gets the 3rd goal. And once the 3rd goal went in, not that it would have been any more competitive or not, but we lost the moment for Spurs where Spurs could have put some doubt into that Liverpool team. And it kind of summed up everything about Spurs and everything about why we are where we are.
Yeah, and listen, Rob, you make a good point, right? And everybody would sort of agree with that, but it's just not happening. It's not going to happen at Tottenham, is it? There's going to be no change of their mentality of attack. I mean, that's what they do. He's fed up of answering questions about it, and it's not just that, by the way, Rob, because I went back and looked at the goals again a couple of times, and it's not just that. Whenever there's a transition, they're I mean, they're so miles apart, right? So they're easy to play through.
Yeah.
But the first 2 goals, I think, like they're set up. By the way, Rob, this wasn't that. I think it was the first 2 goals. They're not. They haven't been kind of counterattacked. There's not transition. They're just not defending. So there's 2 parts to this. There are the amount of people they throw forward to try and score, right? Given the license from the manager, right? That's one part of this, and that's one like. Calm down a little bit. Like this is not normal, the amount of people you throw forward. But the second part, and is almost as important, is that even when they're in their positions defensively, even when they've got some shape and they've got some compactness, they can't defend. They won't defend. They're not winning challenges. They're not winning knockdowns. They're not winning the first headers. They're not get the Liverpool get the flick-ons.
All the basics.
If you look at those white shirts defending yesterday against Liverpool, and I look back for the goals again this morning, there's no, it's almost like, Rob, like the players now are programmed, right? The brains have been programmed. Defending, like we know we're not set up for that. And the manager's kind of stressed that it's about playing our football, doing it our way. We're not really expected to defend much. And do you know what? You give a player any kind of hint.
You're giving them an out. So you're almost saying the players have got an out.
Yeah, you look at some of the midfield players, Rob, and some of those goals, by the way. Jogging. Yeah. They're just jogging back into their little spots without a sense of emergency. Like, they could score here. They go through the motions.
It's an interesting point you made there, and I touched on yesterday. I'm an Ange fan. I like football. I like entertainment. I like goals. I like different systems. But I felt yesterday he let a couple of his younger players down, and I was happy to say it, and I'm happy to back it up again and have the argument when Jed Spence, Radu Dragusin, Archie Gray, and Pedro Porro were your back 4. Porro is probably the most experienced. Jed Spence, I think, was only second Premier League start. You've got Gray and Dragusin, who you back up at best centre-back partnership. Goalkeeper is not your first choice goalkeeper who's in the net. And to set a team up and to allow a team to say, Rob, that I'm not going to change anything. We are going to be who we are, regardless of how I play. And know that back 4 is against one of the best attacks in Europe. If not, we're not just talking the Premier League. I felt he let some of those young players. How does Archie Gray feel today when he wakes up and goes into training? He's conceded 6 goals. He's been all over the place, been dragged here, there, and everywhere. How does that do them good? Now, I'm saying, I know what Ange says, and I know they just want to answer the questions, but that doesn't mean that we have to stop having opinions or things. I feel that he arrogantly says, this is who we are, this is how we're going to play, I've got my young back 4. When a youngster goes in a team, Rob, you have the pros around them have a job to protect them, to get them through, to help them out when they have difficult moments. There was none of that yesterday. There was none of that.
In the interview, Rob, he was asked about it, of course, and he's incredible. Like he said a couple of quotes I made a note of. He said, "We want to win. Like we want to win. Like." He said, we couldn't do much more. He said, I ain't got many more words for you. Like, we couldn't do much more. We want to win. I mean, it's like nothing we've seen before, Rob. In terms of a team, I'm just thinking back, and in terms of a team in the top flight of English football, have we seen such a gung-ho, attack-minded, attack at all costs.
Could you say it was a little Bielsa-esque? I mean, Bielsa had a structure in that, but it was like all going a bit, wasn't it? And when it's good, it's very good, and then when it starts going wrong,
at least Bielsa, Rob, had this crazy man-to-man defensive situation,
you could pull
and he
them all
demanded players. When they had a man, and they got a bit all pulled all over the place, and it's just like it's like whatever you think about football, right? Whatever style with Ange and stuff. The data and fact basically says they're 11th, Rob. They're 11th in the Premier League table. Whether he's proud to stick with his principles, and that's the way we do things, and it's in the entertainment business, and we haven't got certain players, so that's going to be difficult, but this is the way we're going to play. All right, but you're 11th, and we're nearly halfway through, and that ain't going to be good enough for Tottenham Hotspur. It's such a shame.
In fairness, he's got injuries. Let's give him that, and there are some key injuries to keep people defensively, particularly. I wouldn't say the other end of the pitch, but Van der Ven and Romero make a difference. Vicario and goal makes a difference.
But everybody gets a few injuries, Rob, don't they? Everybody gets a few injuries.
Everybody's. You're right. So, but I'm just saying that that would be his kind of outing. That I'm not got my full team, but that's almost the point. Well, when you haven't got your full team, you have to adjust things a little bit.
You're going to lose games.
And the interesting thing for me, Rob, is like you say, they sit 11th, and we enjoy it. And listen, every time Spurs play, there's going to be something happening. But at some point, Rob, Tottenham Hotspur fans, I think, will become disillusioned with what's going on, mind you. At some point, the ownership group and Daniel Levy and whoever else is part of things now, some point are going to say 11th or mid-table for Spurs is not good enough.
No.
And so at some point, Ange's going to, if not going to change, it's going to come to a head.
Yeah, he's going to lose his job, Rob. And it's the absolute polar opposite to what they had before in Antonio Conte. Absolute polar opposite. And all these fans want is a little bit of balance. They want a little bit of balance. They want a bit of going forward, but they want some steel and some aggression. Who doesn't love a flipping team? We'll get on to Chelsea, Rob, but they play lovely football, but they got some steel in that team. They got Caicedo making challenges and pushing himself around, and Nicholas, there's some physicality there. There's no physicality with this team. And back on Ange, Rob, and how sad it is, it's not as though he's got to change the philosophy of the club or the strategies, but just be a little bit more cautious, a little bit more. Have one fullback, like nearly all the best clubs now, Rob. They're building up. I said it before, 3 at the back, and they get 2 guys in midfield, and the others go forward, and that's brilliant. And they play some great football. Ange does it with 2. He just wants 2 at the back. So be a little bit more. I mean, like normal attacking, like the best teams in England are building up, be a little bit similar to that, and just install a little bit of aggression in the individual defending. Forget about tactics, but like when the ball's there, go and win the ball. Be a bit more determined to defend. Those 2 things you would think would help them out, Rob, but he is not. This stubborn kind of, gosh, like it's astonishing to me, Rob. And I've been, I've been a fan of Tottenham, and let's just see this play out and give the guy time. He's doing it his way, and I am, of course, I'm all about time. But at the end of this season, right, it will be like, okay, let's kind of figure out what happened. We finished 12th, did we? Wow, we had a few injuries, but if there's no, let me throw it to you in a question form, Rob. If there's no change to the style and the type of games you're seeing, and they finish 10th, does the ownership say, Ange, like you've had like a couple of seasons now, and as I always say, you got to see progression in a club and a team. We've gone backwards by a lot. Is that going to be it for him? They could look for somebody else.
Let me tell you what will change the whole outlook. If they lift the League Cup, if they lift the League Cup and he wins the silverware and he gets them over the line, and not so Spursy, buys him time, buy him another season or 2 months.
Yeah, good shout.
So that could be the difference maker. But no work to do for Ange. He's going to continue to do it as he wants to do it. He's going to be asked the questions. I think he's going to have to get used to it because the questions will be coming. Let's move to Villa Park, mate. Aston Villa beat Manchester City last season 1-0 at Villa Park. Leon Bailey with a goal that day. Typical, like, up atom intense Aston Villa. They hosted a Manchester City team, not in good nick, Rob. I think you said it top of the show. Now it's 9 defeats in the last 12 games for Pep and his team. Things seem to go from bad to worse. He looks as though he's losing a little bit of control of what is there and how to get this right. Where are we with City, mate? How long does this run continue? What will change or should change?
Gosh, I don't know. Too hard a question for me, mate. It's they look weak in all areas, Rob. In all areas of transition, they look weak. Some of their football. It was the same. This was a very similar notes I've written for Man City over the last few weeks, where it's some pretty football and they keep the ball well. I mean, they had Kovacic was back in the side, starting Stones, Grealish. You're starting to see some of those guys come back, and you think, well, okay, and the football looks pretty, but the lack of cutting edge and the creativity is really concerning because I know they've lost games and I know they're conceding goals, but what's happened to the I know that Kevin De Bruyne was back out again, but they still got talented attacking players, Rob. I don't know, that's got to be a concern when they're not creating anything. And then of course the same old situation where there's nothing in midfield; they can just get run all over the top. I mean, Aston Villa, by the way, I just love this performance in the midfield of them. We'll get on, of course, onto them, but they ran right through Man City's midfield area. And it's the. And of all the things that I've said, Rob, about City, about, yes, there's some key players are out injured. There's some tiredness, there's some mental previous seasons. Okay, there's that one, there's something else. Another one's joined in now, Rob, which is incredible. But the confidence, I think now. I mean, I think people might have said that's gone a couple of weeks ago. I think now, added on with all the other reasons for where they are now, confidence looks shot to pieces as well. And that, so that confidence means they're not going to close down. They're not going to. They're going to be a little bit more careful when some of their passes, and it's just so that's added in, and now you've got a perfect storm, mate. And it looks like I don't know where the next win's coming from.
No. I mean, John. I think John Chapman's question is how long does this continue? And I said, based on what we see, it's going to continue indefinitely until something changes. Rob, what we know is that, like, when you see this Man City team, it just looks awkward. Like, can't quite. They don't have possession. Like I say, the decision making's poor, their intensity is poor. Maybe the athleticism, but maybe because they've had the ball so much that that's not count. But as you say, Aston Villa's midfield run all over them. It was something I pointed out before the game and said, this is an area that concerns me with City. Lots of ball players and Kovacic back in the team and Gundogan, but they haven't got any legs in there. And as it proved, Morgan Rogers basically ran the show, was best player on the field. But this City team, Rob, it's like there's a lack of confidence now in the team. There's a strange lack of confidence in the manager, Rob. It was the first time I saw Pep, almost like he doesn't quite know what's going on. He's lost a little bit of the control of the whole thing.
You can tell a lot in non-verbal flipping body language, Rob. And the camera went to him after Villa's first goal goes in, and I wrote very quickly, wow, like his face was like he's almost expecting it. Almost expecting it. No anger.
Resigned to
here we go again. This is what we are right now, and like a defeated man. Like it's I mean, David Ornstein, Rob, I was sorry to just put in. David Ornstein came on the show on Sunday. I don't know if you saw, we had a chat, and he said, like, there is some rumours floating, and listen, people can be mischievous and try, but there is some rumours floating as though come the end of the season, the two parties may have a chat and decide, despite him signing the contract, that they might decide actually is it the ideal team for both parties to go different ways. Now, again, a lot of time to go. It could just be rumours, but David has good sources. David Ornstein breaks many stories, and he just put it out there, which is we've not really seen that at this stage, and I don't know how long it's going to go. In some respects, Rob, I think with Pep a little bit like Ange, and not quite as comparing the two, Pep's what he's won and what he's brought to English football, but in some respects, Pep's football is wedded to a certain way, a certain style, a certain possession. Pep can't tough out 4-4-2. I said it's like saying to Sam Allardyce, play tick-attack for the next 10 games and win the games. To say to Pep, play your back four and sit your fullbacks in. No inverted fullbacks. Your midfield three are going to sit there and shout. Back in the day, Rob,
we do that as teams, wouldn't we? When things were going really bad, we could tough out a 4-4-2, get a 0-0, get a bad game 1-0 win, and it gives you a start, and you go again. This City team isn't built like this. This manager doesn't have that in his armoury.
So are we saying then that there's certain clubs that are built so much for possession and for attack? Yeah. When it goes badly wrong, they it's like Tottenham. Like they ain't got it.
Goes wrong. Yeah, absolutely.
There's no way. And they're not going to change. Like they can't, or they won't change their philosophy and their style. And you're seeing a little bit the same of it now with Pep, of giving up a lot of chances. I mean, also Erling Haaland, Rob. Like I know he's getting a lot of criticism now, but he's in a team that's not creating anything. There's nobody scoring. I know Phil Foden got a goal. Is his first Premier League goal of the season? I think Phil Foden's
first Premier League goal.
But I mean, Erling Haaland relies on great through balls or passes or little balls in behind, and he's not getting any of that. So, I don't. This isn't for me. It's not a Erling Haaland. This is when we really need him. He's not. The team is just not functioning. He's struggling to get any kind of service in and around the box, and when he has, he's been a little bit snatchy over these recent weeks because he doesn't get many chances. I think a commentator said in the game, Rob, it's the worst run of form in 18 years for Manchester City. Yeah, 18 years after all that they've done. Back to your point on Pep at the end of the season, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if this continues and they finish 6th, 7th. Yeah, that for his own health, for his well-being, that he's exhausted. He's got the Club World Cup, isn't he? I mean, they got that? It wouldn't surprise me if he did. Now, I think a lot of people would be really disappointed in that. Like, come on, when the going gets tough, we want to see him rebuild a team. But it's not. It still won't detract for me anyway. What an incredible period of time it's been under him and Man City. But back to your, maybe he's like for his health, like he'll need a break, like Jurgen Klopp did. He's lost his energy, and but I don't know, fascinating, but just we've got to mention more.
Give some love to Villa. I'm sure Villa fans here say, I said the story was Manchester City. The headlines were how good Villa were, mate. Morgan Rogers, former City player, was incredible. I mean, his growth and his ability to take hold of games, Rob, and dominate from a central midfield play is, I mean, he's got to soon be part of that England setup and be regular in there.
I mean, when you see him drift by people in midfield and knock people aside, and of course he's got, and it's lovely, like it's great as an English to see this guy because he's got quality in the final third as well. He's got the awareness, he's got the little side flicks, he's got the little roll-ins and stuff like that he did to create goals. I mean, he's the full package really, and if I look at that midfield, Rob, McGinn, Onana, Kamara, Tielemans, and Rodgers. I mean, no wingers. Villa don't play with wingers really. Leon Bailey sometimes plays, but generally it's this little tucked in, little tight midfield. They create this box in there like many others, and I just thought they were outstanding. They didn't have a Champions League when Villa are at their best, when they can fully focus into a game. They're a fun team to watch. What about John Duran? John Duran scored a goal.
He gets to start again, Rob. I think that's in 6 starts, 6 goals now, all competitions, 7 goals in the Premier League, as many as Ollie Watkins. I mean, it's in some respects, Tim made a good point. He said, Ollie Watkins, when you're top goal scorer, and there is a rumour that he's got a little bit of a muscle injury, but you tend to, it's a choice by the manager. In the moment, Duran's getting the nod and getting the goals. And Ollie Watkins sitting there. When you're a top striker, it's a big game, and Man City are in town, and your team are up for it. You don't want to be sitting on the bench. You absolutely want to be out there being part of it. So, I mean, listen, it's something the manager's going to have to manage, but it's a great situation because Duran's playing and scoring, and Watkins hasn't really got too big an argument. He's got to sit and wait his time, and when his time comes, when he gets in, he's got to be doing the same. So, perfect situation. It isn't one. Do you ever see a time where you could play both, Rob?
Difficult.
Or does that change the balance and
way? Where? I mean, the only kind of out and out attacking position in the team, obviously, is your number 9 in Villa setup, or sometimes they have a winger,
one of the wider positions.
One of them, but they never play with 2 wingers, and often like this game, there's no winger in it. So one of those forwards you said could possibly play as a winger. I mean, they don't play. I mean, I suppose they could I don't know, one of them play as the number 10 that drops in because one player does that.
Role and put
Rodgers'
him
role,
maybe,
but I don't know. Just
you're forcing it on you, a situation where you don't have to really. Sometimes in these situations, we've both been in teams when you've got to show these things play out for themselves, don't they? Duran's in, scoring, stays in. Duran stops scoring, Watkins comes in.
Yeah, and that's nice, isn't it? I mean, how good's that? Like, because you got one player that's sort of like sitting on the bench. As soon as he's had 3 or 4 games not scoring, it's like, well, you know that I can. Just thinking, Rob, and it seems like this whole podcast has got me thinking back to Spurs, right? Aston Villa are a great example, right? If I ever was a Premier League manager, then I take my kind of philosophies and ideas. My team would be expansive, right? I'd want them to play. Aston Villa know how to play. But I'd also want them to be tough defensively. And against Man City and in other teams, Aston Villa pop into that little 4-4-2 and they can grind. They can grind, they can defend. And they're happy. They can be happy, Rob.
Yeah, that's
again, I look at the game.
Happy to do that.
Absolutely happy because they know that they can score from those positions. They know that they can counterattack and score as well. So a very well balanced team that can open it all up, but also they're happy to defend. And that's what Tottenham could do with. It's not all about going one way. You have in this Premier League, you have to build a team that's one of my favorite words. It's durable, and that in certain times can grind, roll the sleeves up. And maybe it's hard to find those players, Rob, that can do a little bit of both. But Villa got it, and the coach is demanding it. And they're a good example of a well kind of balanced team that can do a little bit of everything, whatever the situation kind of cries out for. So
I think you make a good point in that the manager demands it. If it's not being demanded of you, you don't do it. Right. You're happy not to. But if the manager demands of you, and as you say, he does demand.
You can win in different ways. Another
good win for Villa. More troubles for Pep, more work to do. It's almost becoming like a bit like the car crash, isn't it, Man City? And everybody's looking in like, what's going on next? And it's they've got to find the mojo back. They need a decent result somewhere and see if they can build a bit of form. But I was just looking, Rob. I think they're 12 points behind Liverpool now, isn't it? With a game more played. I mean, it looks like
City have got to try and get in the top 4. That's what they're
Champions League football.
Yeah. That's what they got. They got to make sure they stay in that.
Let's take you to Selhurst Park, my friend. The 2 teams met in the League Cup midweek. Arsenal winning that one with a Jesus hat-trick, second half hat-trick. They host Arsenal at as you'd expect, really buzzing Selhurst Park ahead of Christmas fixtures. Arsenal end up 5-1 winners. Again, Jesus with another couple of goals. He's been the early Christmas present for Mikel Arteta. Certainly a forward who's getting goals and from open play. So the great news for Arsenal was good win, plenty goal scorers, people who needed goals. Martinelli getting one, Rice got one, Havertz got one, Jesus got 2. The disappointing incident, Rob, was 24 minutes on the clock. Saka looked to cross the ball with his right leg, grabbed the back of his muscle in the hamstring area. Just reading today that he suffered a hamstring that's going to keep him out for, I quote, several weeks.
Yes.
Is the latest quote. I mean, that is a massive blow to that teammate who do so much work down that right-hand side. 5 goals, 10 assists in the Premier League for one of, their outstanding player. That's a blow, mate, coming into the Christmas run.
Yeah, I mean, we know the effect of Odegaard. The next, or as equally as important to the team, is Bukayo Saka. And that now is, we never speculate when you see something on the field, Rob. But the guess is when a player sort of does an action and then holds the back of his leg. It's like, wow, if that is a hamstring strain, that's a minimum 3 weeks. If it's a grade 1 for small tear, it's a minimum 3 weeks, and it could be up to 6 weeks, 8 weeks, depending on how bad it was. And he's a really important player. Now, Arsenal were really good on the day, really good. I thought really lively, very much up for the game, Rob. Good energy. I thought they were excellent throughout. They outclassed them by the end of the game. There were moments that Palace asked some questions of and I thought fair play. Selhurst Park now, the team's looking good. They asked a lot of questions, got stretched a little bit, Arsenal, but I just thought there's a game war on, Rob. They were commanding. I mean, the Jesus thing's interesting, by the way. So is this just this? So this is right. This is a short term, a little shot in the arm. He's got his hat trick in the League Cup. He's played him in the side. He looks hungry, looks happy. He's scoring. He's got another hat trick. I mean, The question is, like, how long is it going to go? We've seen enough of Jesus now to know, Rob, unless there's some niggle or something that kept him from his best, that he can't do it week in, week out over a period of time. Do you just ride this? Do you just ride it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a little boost that they've needed. You know, people have been talking about the lack of goals, certainly goals only coming from set pieces and, you know, not enough from open play. You know, I said, you know, go back on a few podcasts, I've been a bit disappointed in his contribution, Jesus. He's a title winner. He's scored up 10 goals in Man City teams that scored, I think, over 100 goals. So he could be an important element to the team. He absolutely has come good at the right time for the team. Allows Havertz to play in an 8, which isn't his best position, I don't think, but you still, you know, certain games you might be able to do that and switch things around a little bit. If Jesus can contribute 10 to 12 goals, Rob, that's a massive bonus. Yeah, it would be. It's a massive bonus for Arsenal and gives them a chance.
Martinelli switched to the right-hand side, Rob, in the game, didn't he? He switched to the right. He actually looked okay, by the way. He looked all right.
Yeah, I thought he looked quite dangerous, didn't he, on the right-hand side?
He's different with that right foot. He went around the outside a little bit more. So this is such an important period now then with Saka being out. Like they ain't got a lot of wiggle room, as you talked about, the amount of points they're behind Liverpool. But they looked, until, if it wasn't for that injury, Arteta would have been pretty thrilled the way that the team's had its little bit of his struggles this season. But I just like and that's a difficult place to go, you know, Selhurst Park, and it was a blooming, you know, miserable day of weather and windy, and they were up for it. And the Declan Rice comes on and gets his goal. They look really, really good. But the Saka thing is going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. See how they can navigate.
I've got a little breakdown coming on Boxing Day. I know we're in the studio because Arsenal host Ipswich, Rob. Ipswich team that's not going well at the moment. So you know, if we can get through a couple of games and see how Saka goes. Apparently he's a quick healer when he has had injuries, so we'll have to wait and see.
Can I just give a quick mention to Lewis Skelly, Miles Lewis Skelly, the
left back. Yeah, he played him ahead of Calafiori, didn't he? And
I think he looks good. I think he looks good, mate. He looks good on the ball. He's got
physicality as well for a young lad. He looks like he's well built and
he looks confident.
Yeah.
But look really good. And more minutes for Nwaneri as well. Ethan Nwaneri, this young phenomenon that they got. So good more minutes for him. Good result for Arsenal, mate. That's an impressive victory. More players in the box. Address the goals issue. Jesus is scoring goals. Back in good shape.
Let's go to Goodison Park. There's been good news this week for Everton. The free group has taken over. So you know, some positive news on that front. Sean Dyche looks like he's getting this team to be a Sean Dyche team. It's difficult to play against. It's difficult to score against. Maybe not going to score as many goals as other teams, but you know, I don't think we feel there's a doubt that now they'll be caught in any real relegation problems. I said to the guys in the studio, this is a big boy test for Chelsea. This is a young, maturing Chelsea team who are going to go on a horrible day away from home, a team that's set up, that's physical, that's difficult to play against, will play long ball. This is another kind of test for Chelsea. Let's see where they are. I actually felt, Rob, it was a really, really good point for Chelsea, this young team. I think it's one of those places where it could be ugly, it's not great, you're away from home, it's a couple of days before Christmas, your mind's not on it, you lose 1-0 and you move on. I thought it was important that they got something, and they did, and they had to work hard. And it wasn't their football. It wasn't Cole Palmer. It wasn't Jackson's runs and all the good attacking things about them. It was a little bit, and you talked about it, a bit of grit, a bit of standing up for themselves, a bit of hanging in there and being a bit dirty and going toe-to-toe with Everton and what they do. And I thought it was a really important point for this young group who continue to learn and grow, and maybe plays into why Enzo Maresca says we're not ready to win a title, and sort of with a slight glint in his eye. I don't think they are ready. I'm not sure, but if they continue to go as they are, they're still going to be part of the conversation.
They're not going to win every game.
No.
They're not going to win every game. And other teams are going to mess up and lose and surprise everybody, and Chelsea are the same. You know, just because they didn't win this game doesn't mean they're not going to win the title. You know, and I agree with you, by the way, and a lot of what you said there, Rob. I don't know if you mentioned too much about the weather. It was windy. It's been horrible. And there's one thing that disrupts a team, it's conditions and it's a pitch. Like if it's a little bobbly and it's windy, it's tough to play. It's just tough to play. And they were aggressive at Everton. We know they're aggressive. They got aggressive centre backs. They're tough to play against. The Everton fans demand you get wired in to Chelsea, these young players. So you're absolutely right. Robert Sanchez, Rob, that's got criticism from many people, myself included, made some big saves. Had to make some big saves. Everton created some good chances, to be fair to them, as well as everything else. It was a difficult day. It was a difficult challenge for them. And that's where, I like to see Moses Caicedo. I like to see him lunge in and win balls back and get stuck in. You need it. You need it. I mean, and that's what others haven't got. I'll go back to Tottenham again. So it they never got their best football going. It took them a long time to get play developed in the final third in the first half. They couldn't maneuver the ball through the lines particularly well, but it was difficult. Everton they're tough, Rob. They're tough, and to be fair to them, they created a couple of chances. Now, I just want to ask you about Everton a little bit, Rob. Like you said, they're going to be okay, and I don't disagree. But if they had a couple of injuries to key players, they ain't that far away from the relegation zone. They are very one-dimensional in what they do. I think we both would say that he's done a brilliant job over the last couple of seasons of all the troubles they've had to steady the ship and to grind, stay safe. But still in the Premier League, great new stadium. We want to be. With the new ownership, is there going to be a sense that, well done, Sean, like you've done this amazing, we're still here, but we want to take it a little further forward? Or do you think he'll earn time with the new owners in a new stadium? I think we know he's doing a great job here, grinding to keep them safe. But there's a little bit of me and a lot in the Everton fans are like, are we better than this? Like, can't we be a little better than this? Our players now, we've got two good centre backs. We've got Njai who's lively. We've got McNeil. We've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin that looks like he's miserable. Gets very few chances. Looks like he's off colour. Is there a better Everton team, Rob, that can play better football?
I hear you.
Tough question, I know.
I hear you, and it's a tough question. Feels a little bit like I would put West Ham in a similar category. A bigger club. Feel that we should, be playing better, more pleasing football, more attacking, blah, blah, blah. They got rid of Moyes for that reason. Lopetegui's coming out, hasn't quite gone to plan there. Kind of feel it there. My sense, and again, I don't know the people well enough, but my sense is these people will give Sean Dyche a look. I think he'll get a window or two where he can bring in a couple of players to take him, who can possibly take him to next stage, and then we'll see how we go. You do tend to feel like new stadium, new beginnings, like
new excitement.
Want to modernize who they are. They don't want to, every game, however Everton win, lose or draw, it's a scrap. And sometimes I think maybe fans or ownership might want something different. But I think I hope Sean Dyche has given the chance. I think he's earned the right, Rob. I think difficult. I mean, from the moment he sat in the chair, there's been problems at that football club.
Yeah, I know.
With ownership, with players, with directors of football, with PSR and the points deduction and all that stuff that's gone on. At least that we feel like there's a bit of a level playing field. There's a platform now. Give this guy a try, and you know what? If it isn't quite what you want, it isn't good enough, then take your time. Find the right person and move on. It's interesting. I think Tim mentioned we were chatting anything. He said that Everton feels like a Graham Potter could be a great kind of project for somebody like him who will play better football. He's not in the spotlight as he was at Chelsea, but it's a big club. He can compete at the right end of the table.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's sometimes be careful what you wish for, isn't it? We've seen it before. West Ham United in the past.
West Ham one's a great example.
It's like you go away from that model a little bit, and you do take a bit of a risk. And I think the smart thing to do would be to give them a go, Robin. You're assuming now that financially they'll be more stable, that they'll start to add to quality to the team. When they bring some new players in, it's like, okay, these are, we should be a little better now. And that's when the test will come if they can be better. Because we have seen Sean Dyche teams play some good football. At times. It's almost like he still doesn't quite trust the squad to be a little bit more expansive. And he's just holding the reins in a little bit.
Doesn't let him off the reins.
Yeah. But that's a good point for them as well. That's Chelsea a good side.
Pretty safe, and they'll be okay. Don't worry about it. In Dyche we trust. Mustoe in Dyche. Right. Let's go to Old Trafford. Bournemouth 3, Manchester United 0. Back-to-back wins, I think, for Bournemouth now at Old Trafford. I thought this was an important, sobering day for Ruben Amorim in understanding what this job is going to be about and how much work it's going to take to get this thing right.
The worry is, though, and I understand that, and it is good that he's stripping it bare. I put a tweet out a couple of weeks ago about this. He's stripping it all bare, and he's saying, "Here we go. This is my structure that I know works. I know this structure works, and maybe it's not ideal for some of you, but let's see how you do." And he's getting all the feedback. He's getting all the feedback, and the worry is, Rob, that a lot more of the players than he might have expected, or maybe we thought as well, are not really that good. And they're only mid-table Premier League players, and you know, I think we suspected that there's quite a few, but the way it's looking, it's like majority of this team are just average Premier League players. I mean,
but are they, Rob? I was thinking this when I was looking at the game I watched last night. Like, if I look at that group of players, Rob, that group of players playing, I know they aren't at the moment, but playing in a system, whatever system, playing reasonably well, should be challenging 5th, 6th, 7th, minimum 8th in the league. That's where they should be. If you look at the team of Fulham, of Bournemouth, of Forest, you know, they haven't all got world beaters, but they've got a system, they've got a way of playing, and they're in that top 10. Manchester United's group of players are underperforming. Massively I
don't know, mate. I don't know if they are.
I still don't think they're good enough for where Manchester United are going to be chasing titles and you know, up with Liverpool and Man City when they get sorted, and Arsenal. But this group of players are better than 13th in the Premier League, mate. Better than 13th.
Listen, I got the team right in front of me, right?
Yeah.
Onana, good goalie. Yeah. As a few little ricks, good goalie.
Yeah.
Good goalie.
Yeah.
Mazraoui, solid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Solid.
Decent.
Mid-table Premier League player? Bit more, I think, in the right Maguire.
team.
Harry Maguire.
Yeah.
Mid-table. Maybe mid-table Premier League player.
Experience, yeah, international, but okay.
Lisandro Martinez.
Yeah, top end, top 8.
I thought, but I thought he was poor yesterday for one of the goals.
Yeah,
he didn't close the ball down. He's made a few mistakes.
Defender.
Okay, but not
not top
Champions League player.
No, he doesn't go into top.
Dallo, wing backs, Dallo.
Yeah,
steady,
similar.
average. Yeah, average, mid-table. Yeah. Malacia, been out for a while, but we're not expecting amazing things from him. Mid-table. Bruno Fernandes, top for me, top player. Sorry, midfield. Ugarte.
Yeah,
I think top, but don't know yet.
Yeah, like again, for me, is a top 8 player. Should be in the top 8.
Mainu, learning his trade. Showing some good things. Yeah. Other things. Yeah. And then you've got Ahmad, who looks like it's going to be a special player. Yeah. Bruno, loving the bits. And Zirkzee. Zirkzee is maybe an average bottom half Premier League player. So I don't know if there's that many on there, Rob. I know there's people out a little bit.
People come in, Højlund and people, and Mountain.
You've got Garnacho and Rashford and stuff like that.
If you went through that group and did it with Bournemouth, Semedo and Tavernier and Kluivert, you'd go mid.
You'd be saying same.
But I'm saying that group are getting the best of themselves, and this group aren't.
Yeah. And that's down to...
He's got... This is big work, mate, that's going to happen. But
how much work and how much new players?
Yeah, both. I mean, the problem is going to be getting some of the people out. You know, the Marcus Rashford has hit the headlines recently, and we all know the kind of money that he's on. That's going to cause a problem. But other people, you know, if Maguire, I think 1 or 2 contracts are coming up, the Maguires and people on big money, Rob, maybe not going to want to leave. So are they going to have the money to pay people off to get them out?
Yeah, it is both. It is both. It's a lot of work on a training ground. We know he can do that. We know he's clever and talented like that. I think we know he looks like he's capable of doing this job really well. It's just, you know, the players that I don't know. I think you make a point. I mean, obviously some other teams are doing amazing things right now with what they've got. And you ain't going through the team saying that they're top 5 player or top 4 player. You're just not. So, both sides of it. But it is sobering, and he's learning a lot, Rob. That's all we can say. He's not trying to help them with compact systems. And, you know, he's saying, like, we want to be expansive. We want to play. Let's see if you can do it or not. And it's been a struggle.
It looks like not,
Have to watch.
And it doesn't help, is it, when you're having a press conference and then the ceiling starts dripping and rainwater's coming in. It's like, what is it, when you put a finger in the dye, you plug one hole and then the water comes out somewhere else.
Yeah.
But work to do for Amin. Great result. Actually, give credit to Bournemouth away from home, Earle and his team.
Yeah, they're a working team, man. They're working.
Good example to people in terms of, when he first got the job. I remember, Rob, there was people saying, "Oh, he's not good enough, doesn't know this league and all that." He's pretty, he certainly kicked on and shown this league a different look and brought a different flavour to it, which well played to him and his team. Brentford hosted Nottingham Forest, Rob, an informed Forest. Brentford had the best home record in the Premier League, scored millions of goals this season. Forest do a great job, keep a clean sheet, get a couple of goals themselves through Aina and Langer, and Nuno and this Forest story just continue to go. They sit fourth, my friend. Fourth.
It's incredible, absolutely incredible.
League.
I think over the Boxing Day, Rob, we're going to do an underappreciated 11, like mid-season, kind of sort of thought on that.
Yeah,
and I think when you look at the table, I think it's going to be a little representation from Nottingham Forest in there, given our expectations of Forest and where they've been recently in recent seasons. And Nuno continues to be a bland flipping interview. Like, I mean, there's no sense of excitement or flipping.
We go to the next game. We don't look at the table. We don't. Come on, Nuno.
And I get it. But the poor interviewers that after asking questions, and he's like 3-word answers all the time. His press conferences are the shortest that we ever look at. They're like 8 minutes long. So he says nothing, which is probably not a bad policy, not fun for everybody listening and watching those press conferences. But his team is grinding, mate. It sits his little shape. The players know they're ready to pounce on errors. They counter-attack. They got pace. They got a journey. They got a striker up front. I say journeyman, but he's better than that. That knows where the goal is. He got pace in his wide players. He has a Langer that was out the side for a little bit, and now he's back in great form. They got good, honest midfield players. Ryan Yates, the player, in midfield. They got a back four now that I tell you what is a really good back four.
Well, interesting, Rob. Really interesting. He went back 3 this week. I was doing the game, so he brought Morato in, who was a Brazilian that they signed. He had Murillo, and then they had Milenkovic. So he played back 3.
Wow.
And he had wing backs, and it was interesting because I was a bit concerned, like that back, exactly what you say. That back four's done so well with 2 centre backs, Aina and Williams. Or Moreno is sometimes as a back four, they've been excellent. Yeah. And then he changed it. Obviously, aware of the threats of this Brentford team with Wita, with Mbermo, with Lewis Potter, and the threat of Shada. So he's obviously decided he was going to go back 3 to get the extra defender in, but wing backs who can still make things happen. So really smart, did a great job, dealt with Brentford, nullified a lot of that Brentford threat that we know is there, and their ability to break quickly and cause you problems in the spaces behind. So yeah, you've got to give absolute credit to Nuno, because as I say, as I was looking at the teams, when we're working out, and I go, God, that's 3 centre backs, and he's never gone 3 centre backs. Why would he do that? Well, he obviously had a reason and it worked out perfectly, mate.
Yeah, it's a good story. That's a really good story. I wonder if Newcastle United is going to be a good story, Rob. I know they've had their struggles and a little bit of pressure maybe on Eddie Howe. Great victory away at Ipswich Town. It's one of those that is like a bit of a wow result when you get the results coming in, and you're like, Ipswich Town have been competitive. They've been desperate to try and get that first win at the Premier League at Portman Road, home. Isak gets a hat trick. I think one of the best strikers in the Premier League for me. He's top level. He's absolutely a Champions League player, and we'll see whether they can keep hold of him. But that's back to Newcastle and Rob. Where are we going to be? Because I know I fancied them strongly at the start. I thought
it feels like in the last few weeks they've rediscovered themselves. Maybe a few more people are fitter in the team. Looks like there's a bit more energy, but the midfield balance is starting to look better. Tonali's having more of an influence on games. It's important. So I just feel like Eddie's got his Newcastle back, and now we'll have to see, can they put a run together. It's going to be important sort of festive fixtures for Newcastle, because we can put a run together and close that gap into, they've still got an outside chance of Champions League football. So good result. And I tell you what, Rob, and he won't win any awards, and we have put him on the radar a little bit. Jacob Murphy, my friend, is a blooming, unbelievably consistent performer. Gives to the team, scores a great goal, mate. I don't know if you saw he had a dribble up on the back heel like Messi-esque for the hat-trick goal for Isaac. And, you know, I'm looking down the thing and Harvey Barnes can't get in the team. And, you know, you would think a really flying Newcastle with Gordon one side, Barnes the other, and Isaac up top is a real threat. Jacob Murphy, my friend, is a really important part of Eddie Howe's team. And just sometimes plays to Rob like, I don't know, a manager probably appreciating more than fans or pundits or other people. You know, sometimes we're like, Jacob Murphy. You know, Eddie sees him week in, week out. Eddie has all the data, sees what he does for a team and knows that, you know, despite Barnes' speed and ability and Gordon's goal threat and you know, maybe better technical ability, Jacob Murphy's an important part of that team.
You know what's funny, Rob, is like, and it's not very often I connect to something with my own career, but it's a little bit, you know, when he's on that wing and he's got Harvey Barnes and stuff. It's like me when I was at Middlesbrough, and we had a period where we were signing all these really, really good players, maybe a little older, some real star players. And I think I was always the one that, you know, Robbie Mustoe is going to probably drop out. You know, you got Paul Ince, you got Andy Townsend, you got Emerson, you got Janino, you got all these guys that come into the team. And yet, of course, you know, don't forget about me. Like, I'm not gonna go away. Like, I'm gonna get my head down. And it's a little bit like that with Jacob Murphy. It's like, I know there's some players here, Harvey Barnes, I know we've got Anthony Gordon and stuff, but I'm gonna flip and tell. I'm gonna persuade this manager that I'm standing the team. And that's what I did for years at Middlesbrough. And I ended up being an important part of the team, and I ended up changing my game a little bit to suit the others that were around me. What does the team need? Right, I'm going to start doing that to stay in the team, and I stayed in the team. But you know, that competition for places, we talk about it, and it's a bit of a cliche, but it is blooming important. And I think it does drive players to try and bring out their best, maybe to change their playing style a little bit to stay in the team and stay part of this thing that's going really well. So he's a good example of that, I think. And fair play. Well, yeah, fair play to him for keep doing the business with, you know, people wanting to take his spot.
Okay, quick, mate. Let's quickly get through the rest of the game. Leicester 0, Wolves 3. Great off Pereira.
Wow.
Pereira coming in his first game, 3 goals, clean sheet.
Wow.
Ruud van Nistelrooy, obviously, got a little bit of work to do now. His team just started to concede a few goals and defensive problems coming in. But yeah, great 3 points for Wolves. It's interesting. Cunha played in the game, Rob. The FA haven't yet decided what they're going to do about his thing. So in a big game at the bottom end of the table, Wolves have Cunha. He plays, he scores, they get the 3 points. So some Leicester fans might have a view on that in terms of whether he should have been playing. Other games, West Ham 1, Brighton 1. Solid point for Lopetegui. Difficult week for Lopetegui, actually. I think his father passed away, didn't he? He went back to Spain. And that too in the club, so not probably spent as much time with the team as he would have liked. But 1-1 draw at home, and then Fulham 0, Southampton 0. Ivan Juric, wasn't he? Was
in the stands, wasn't he?
Took the stands. I just saw today he's just got his work permit, so he's able actually to coach now. But so his team get a point, which I suppose a 0-0 draw when you just got beat 5-0 the last time, at least it gives him the clean sheet. But they're going to need to put a run together and put points together like we've not seen before if they're going to stay in the league.
Absolutely right. Yeah, and that's it. And that's the wrap of the weekend. Everybody have a lovely holidays for the next few days. We're back in the studio, aren't we, mate, for Boxing Day. There's 4 game windows on Thursday on Boxing Day. So yeah, have a nice few days, and we'll see you then.
Absolutely. That's the end of Matchweek 17. We head to the Christmas holidays. It's Liverpool that's at top of the tree. Good wins for Villa, Forest and Arsenal, but there continues to be problems for Pep. Yeah, we're going to be back. It's going to be Friday, December the 27th, when we'll recap all those busy Boxing Day fixtures. It's 8 matches across Peacock and the USA Network. So get your rehabbed turkey dinners and sit yourself down in front of the telly and watch us for about 10 hours of Premier League football on Boxing Day. Great days. But for now, I'm Earle. He's Mustoe, together with the 2 Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe, stay healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And if you want even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.